Hello, welcome to Morning Line on day one of the Grand National Festival. 11 grade ones to look forward to over the next 3 days. And of course, at 5:15 on Saturday, it's the world's biggest steeplechase. It's the Randox Grand National.
Our shop shutters may be down, but our spirits will be raised.
There's a furlong now between Red Rum and his third Grand National triumph.
A race that belongs to the city.
His hats off and a tremendous reception. You've never heard one like it at Liverpool.
A race that belongs to the nation.
And party politics is going to win the Grand National.
A race that belongs to the people.
Tiger Roll is remarkable. He comes up towards the winning line under Davy Russell.
Over 30 fences and 4¼ miles.
Point Albert going well clear to a fantastic Grand National triumph.
The ultimate test of horse and jockey.
And they are applauding a very brave horse. Red Verona comes out alone.
History beckons for the brave.
And the line underneath it wins the National.
Who will cement their place in the history books of the 2021 Grand National? Well, we've got a short price one in cloth cap at the moment for Grand National. We're hearing from trainer John Joe O'Neill in this show. Of course, John Joe won it with Don't Push It. Didn't have a very good time as a jockey in the Grand National. Delighted to welcome Tom Lee to the studio. Tom, how you doing?
Rock and roll, bring it on. 3 big days. Doesn't feel like 2 minutes since Cheltenham was coming down the final race of what was an amazing 4 days. But I tell you what, forget that. It's all about this next 3 days now. And of course, 5:15 on Saturday, 40 runners spread across the track for the Grand National. So much excitement. After a bad year, 3 great days.
Yeah, let's introduce the rest of the team. Matt Humes is with us. Matt, how excited are you about the next 3 days?
Extremely excited, Mark. Cannot wait. There's only 2 AA meetings that matter to me this weekend. Aintree and Augusta. Cannot wait for those to get underway. Here we are then. This is what we've got to look forward to at Aintree on Thursday. All gets underway at 1:45. Banging with a grade one, the Manifesto Novices Chase. We're following up with another one as well, the Juvenile Hurdle. The Aintree Bowl, the Aintree Hurdle, the grade ones coming thick and fast. And then we're over the big fences, the Fox Hunters Chase at 4:05. We're all paying extra place on that 4 places. Extra place on the Close Brothers Red Rum Chase as well, named after the 3-time Grand National hero. Run over 2 miles though. And then we've got the Mayor's Bumper. Very excited to see a horse called Eileen Dover a little later on. 7 races, Mark. Cannot wait for it to get underway this afternoon.
And our 4th member of the team, Fred, will be here at midday with Fred's Pushes. And if you back them at Cheltenham, we did very, very well, especially the likes of Bob Ollinger. He pushed that, didn't he? He did a lovely double on day one with Appreciator and Shishkin. So this is all coming at midday. But another member of the team is already at Aintree for Betfred. It's Rupert Bell.
Well, welcome to Aintree, day one. Looking out from the commentary position here over the famous racecourse. See the Grand National course away in the distance. It's not as chilly as I thought it was going to be this morning, but there is a bit of a breeze, but the course looks in pristine condition. I know they did a bit of watering last night, but it's set fair for a terrific day's racing. Well, the Betway Bowl, Native River, Tiger Roll, Clanders of Bow, and Condor Castle, not to be discounted in that race. The Aintree Hurdle looks fantastic as well. Got a sneaking regard for brewing up a storm in that. We've got a race over the Grand National fences, which is the Fox Hunters, and that'll be harum scarum for the amateur riders as they go round this course. But whatever, looks like we're going for a great day for start of the festival. Fantastic that we've got owners here as well. Should be a wonderful afternoon sport.
It certainly should be, and 3 days of racing ahead. And Tom, that live from the course here with Rupert, it looks to be in magnificent condition.
Looks like a carpet going officially good to soft for the first of these 3 days. We'll see how that plays out, but it looks immaculate.
It certainly does. And the big race is on Saturday at 5:15. And of course, if you win it, you go in the history books. And that's what Ryan Mania did in 2013. But he fell out in love with the game. He came back. He had that great winner at Cheltenham just 3 weeks ago as well. So let's hear from Grand National winning jockey. You'll hear him throughout the next 3 days. It's Ryan Mania talking to Matt.
8 years ago, it's hard, madness actually, hard to believe. And then all those years ago when I had such a good time on the Betfred sofa back in the studio, and how things have changed now, we're doing a Zoom call. But yeah, it's been a long time since that great day. But not a day goes by that I don't think about it. And I actually was in at Swiss this morning and could see Aurora's encore from a distance in the field enjoying his retirement. A lot of it's a blur, but I do remember crossing the line and walking back up past the crowd. And basically nobody was cheering for me because nobody knew who we were. There were, you were 66-1 outsider, and everybody was like, "Who the hell is this?" It was eerily quiet, given that there's so many people. But such was the shock on their faces as well as on mine.
Oh, we'll just go back to 2013 because everyone says racing is a great leveller. Boy, there's no scenario bigger than your own on that weekend, because less than 24 hours after being on top of the world with that national success, you're being airlifted to hospital after a fall at Hexham. Yeah, it wasn't an ideal way of celebrating, was it? But because just that's part and parcel of being a jockey, unfortunately. But look, I'll never forget. It was. I went down to Sue and Harvey's that morning for the media to speak to the media and things and see the horse. And she said to me, "You don't have to go to Hexham if you don't want to," but I went anyway, and unfortunately the horse fell, and I ended up with fractured vertebrae in my neck, and it was not the ideal start, but funnily enough, it made me more famous than the actual win, because suddenly people didn't care so much that I won the national, but suddenly the national winner that tried to kill himself the following day, that suddenly raises a few eyebrows. So yeah, that was I got more famous for that. Been great to have, as I say, won the national for Sue and Harvey, and then as you said, I took some time off and came back, and I've had some great winners since. I've had a lot of winners and a lot of fun since I came back, and to get a festival winner's just completely topped it off. It's been unbelievable. The national is what everyone dreams of, but never realistically conquers, and I was lucky to do that. And partly, obviously, I had my reasons for leaving, but there was a part of me who thought I've won the national, how much better can it get, sort of thing. What am I going to achieve now? And the answer is a hell of a lot more. I was desperate to get a festival winner, and I'm lucky to have done that. And what it does is this time round, it's made me hungry for even more. What I really want to do is have a Grade 1 winner. I haven't had a Grade 1 winner, so that's the next on the list as well. So coming back and riding the festival winners. And as I said, I've had a couple of good listed chase winners as well. Just makes me realise that I've completely done the right thing in coming back, and that I haven't completely lost my ability to ride, which is even better.
Really nice interview there. Look, epitomises the ups and downs of racing, doesn't he?
He's some man. I tell you what, and the way he's riding now, Mark, you'd never have known he'd taken that fall. But he's the most modest, down-to-earth, hard-working bloke you will ever come across. And the fact that 8 years ago he was getting on the back of an outsider, Aurora's encore for Sue and Harvey Smith, went out, did the business, went home. The highs and lows never more personified than what happened to Ryan Mania. But if you meet him today, you could talk to him for 24 hours solid and he wouldn't mention that he's a Grand National winner. He's just an absolute grafter.
Plenty of greats have not won the Grand National.
Ain't that the truth?
I mean, thinking of it, the man who's retired this week, outstanding jockey in Richard Johnson.
Of course, one of the all-time greats. And all right, Ryan Mania's still got a little bit of...
McCoy's only what he wants.
Yeah, absolutely right, and he won't be winning it again anytime soon. Ryan, excellent rider, and actually, joking aside, good to see him getting the support of so many trainers on the Northern Circuit. He's riding some winners, and I tell you what, when he's fit and in form and in the drive position and focused like he is now, he's a great asset to any trainer, because he's arguably, I think he'd probably admit deep down, now that he's in the groove and actually really totally dedicated and focused, he's a far better jockey second time round, having, as he mentioned in that interview, taken the time away from the sport.
We will be talking about today's racing because it is a very good card, but of course the focus is the Grand National at 5:15 on Saturday. We're 6 places each way at the moment, but by the way, at midday, the rest of Thursday and the rest of Friday, we're 8 places each way. 8 places each way on the Grand National from midday today to the end of Friday. Matt, how do we bet on the showpiece of 5:15 on Saturday, where millions around the world will be watching?
Yep, tune in for the world's greatest steeplechase, of course, the 2021 Randox Health Grand National. As you mentioned, Mark, we'll be 8 places from lunchtime. We're 6 places right now. We'll get the full field in around about half an hour's time. But Cloth Cap is your favourite there at 4-1. More on him shortly. Borough Saint 9-1, went close in the virtual Grand National last year. 10-1 any second now for Ted Walsh, who won it in the year 2000 with Papillon. Manila Times, the matter of Rachel Blackmore looking likely. Henry de Bromhead also in there at 10-1. Any second now, Manila Times, Kimberlite Candy, all owned by JP McManus, which brings us back to Cloth Cap. Trained by John Drew O'Neill, he eluded in the Grand National as a jockey, but he did win it in the JP McManus Silks when training Don't Push It, ridden by Sir A.P. McCoy back in 2010. Can John Drew O'Neill then land a second Grand National courtesy of Antipost favourite? 4-1 there, Cloth Cap, who was very impressive at Newbury and Kelso this season. Our very own Rupert Bell headed to Jackdaw's Castle.
Well, first up, John Judge, this must be so exciting to have a horse going in with such a weight of expectation in Cloth Cap going for this year's Grand National.
Yeah, it's very exciting, really. He's very well in at the weights, so you can understand why everybody is pushing him forward. He jumps and he stays. He seems the right sort of type of horse for the race, really. And he'll never get in better again, will he?
It's been a revelation though this season. I mean, he was all right before, but what's been the transformation into turning into such an exciting horse?
Well, the plan started early last year, and of course it was all disappointments, so nothing went right for him really. And this year he just come back in and he's in great form, and he's settled in to work really well. And he went to Cheltenham and he had a lovely run, finished third, and then we went for the Ladbrokes, and that went really well, and it just all happened really.
And describe him as a horse. Is he complicated to train? Is he quirky? Is he very much his own man?
He is very much his own man. He's not difficult to train or anything like that, but he's fussy and he's bit of attitude about him, he likes to be on his own a bit, he likes to do things on his own in his own circumstances really, but he's pretty adaptable, and he goes with most things. He is a little bit like Don't Push It really. He used to be always trained on his own and just join in on the work, and this fella's a bit similar really. For
you to win another national, it was huge when Don't Push It. You say a really classy horse. There's a lot going on, but this might feel like after we missed it last year, but to come back and you be the winning trainer, you've achieved a lot. Would this feel very special? Oh,
of course it would. Yeah. Listen, everybody loves Cheltenham and Aintree is the be all and end all for jump people, and to win another national would be fantastic really, but to have a runner in it and have a live chance, I mean, it's fantastic really, and we just have to wait and see on the day what happens, but we're very happy going with him, and let's hope we can get him there safe and sound, and that's my job done.
John Joe, what a lovely fellow. Won it with Don't Push It in 2010, and A.P. McCoy was on board that day. I suppose a lot of the chat over the next 3 days is going to be, got a great chance, it's a stone well in, but it's only 4-1. I'd still rather a 4-1 winner.
I'd sooner have a 4-1 winner than a 25-1 loser, that much is true, but it's so many complexities and so many different faces to a Grand National, Mark. As you've just mentioned, until later today, Betfred paying six places upon the race. However, those extra places are really going to bring a lot of horses into play that, let's just imagine, in your mind's eye, you can find a horse at 20, 25, 33, 40, 50-1 to creep into those additional places. You're looking at spectacular value each way. Cloth Cap, for his part, outstanding chance. You don't go and win a Hennessy by 10 lengths by mistake. You don't follow up on unfavourable terms at Kelso in the Premier Chase by mistake. He comes there with a wet sail from a cracking stable with a fantastic young pilot on board. Everything set fair to put him in the groove for a major assault on the Grand National. However, I don't think it's really such a one-horse race as the betting portrays. The price is lousy. When you compare the chances of some of those horses in and around him in the market, OK, look at Rachel Blackmore, Manila Times. Look at Ted Walsh with Any Second Now. Look in particular, I think, at Kimberlite Candy, a horse who loves those fences, stays all day, won a classic chase, lightly raced, Tom Lacey, good season. All of a sudden you're saying, well, hang on a minute, cloth cap, great respect, and he might well win, and good luck to him. But at 4 to 1, I'm looking at those horses clustered in, the next names in the betting, thinking, you get a lot for your money, therefore, at 3 times those odds, 11 to 1 right now, about, for example, Kimberlite Candy. And everybody at home now watching this, everybody in their offices, everybody who's tuning in, maybe on the tube, on the train, whatever they might be doing, thinking, well, I've got a little sneaking fancy that Mr. Malarkey for the Tizzards, Yala Enki for Paul Nicholls, horses at huge prices, all of them viable place contenders. Cloth cap, he's the right horse favourite. He's done everything right this season, but the price, it just, there's something that really just unsettles me. The thought in a 40-runner handicap with all the potential for chaos, 4 to 1, no thank you.
Well, I've got the best bit of advice. Wait till midday when we're each way 8 places, and we'll be each way 8 places for the rest of Thursday and Friday, and you can go in a draw to win a car as well. So wait till midday and have your bet when we'll be 8 places each way. That's only today and Friday. And talking about extra places, we've got an extra place on the opener map. There's only 7 runners, but with 3 places each way.
I do like this, yeah. 7 runners, you mentioned, but 3 places. So we've not got the dead 8, we've only got 7. Well, 3 places each, which makes it a nice little make-up race, this one. It's the Manifesto and obviously Chase, a Grade 1 over 2.5 miles. Fusel Raffles, the 11 to 4 favourite after finishing 2nd in the Marsh at the festival. Hitman, who missed the festival for Paul Nicholls, a very lightly raced 5-year-old, he's at 3 to 1. And the Shunter, well, he's going to run not in them blue silks, oh no. JP McManus purchased the Shunter last night. That's an interesting move. 100 to 30, the Irish dominated Cheltenham. They only got 10 runners at Aintree today. Will they have a few winners, though? Eldorado Allen chased on Shishkin in the Arkles at 6 to 1. Umbrigado 11 to 1. Protector also 11 to 1. And the rank outside are only 3 places. Don't rule him out. Phoenix Way, I think he's around about 25 to 1. He's won over 3 miles, he's won over 2 miles. It's very impressive, I thought, winning over 2 miles at Warwick. Pulled up on soft ground at Sandown. Don't rule him out when you're 3 places each way. He might be worth a little bit of a poke to pick up some place money. I'm a big fan of Hitman, though, but it's a wide open start, Mark, and it's a nice little each-way make-up with those 3 places, as I say.
Right, let's have a look at some of the contenders. Let's start with Fusel Raffles, 2nd in the Marsh Novices at Cheltenham. And Fusel Raffles, let's be honest, ran a cracker this day.
Oh, he really did. Only beaten by his stablemate Chantry House in the McManus colours. There he is on the far side of the track. The broader picture tells you, Mark, he's a Grade 1 winning hurdler as a younger horse, but as a chaser he's taken to it really well. Some of his jumping he's produced earlier this season at the likes of Uttoxeter and Cheltenham has been spectacular, and this is a fantastic effort. My one concern, really, how hard a race did he have this day? The gap in between races, Mark,
let's talk about that, because that's significant for so many runners over the next few days.
Yes, it is.
The Cheltenham factor. And obviously the Cheltenham factor has got a huge say. The next one we're going to have a look at, the Shunter. Now, the Shunter was probably one of the best performances of the week for me, landing a bonus as well. Punters really got stuck into it because of Fred Push, and it's a hell of a story. And the Shunter here, was there a better performance at Cheltenham? Well, Tom?
I think when you factor in the inexperience of his rider and the pressure that was on to deliver the bonus, probably not. If you think this season...
he's pulling up that hill.
Oh, ain't that the truth? He wins like a fresh horse, not a horse who'd won in Kelso, having had a brutal hard race only 12 days before.
We'll talk the Cheltenham factor in minutes. Right, a lot's been made, obviously, of Paul Nicholls not sending horses to Cheltenham and sending them to Aintree instead. And this is the hitman, Paul Nicholls, and this is winning easy at Newbury.
There's something very taking about this fella. The way he tanks through his races, he's a real exuberant traveller. I know he fell in the Scilly Isles, but that actually was a signal of how well he was travelling. He was going too well. He's a very free horse, but boy is he exciting. I think Aintree will suit him, Mark.
And this is Eldorado Allen, which was 2nd to Shishkin. Well, obviously, there's no disgrace in being 2nd to Shishkin. And if you have a look...
But Mark, here's the real key thing. It's the grey horse, miles out the back.
Yeah.
Look how clever Harry Cobden is, riding him to be placed. So he knows...
I know, because I was on Captain Guinness.
He knows well that he cannot compete with the easy winner, the freewheeling Shishkin. What he can do is see the others have cooked their goose and nick that valuable second-place prize money. If you backed him each way this day,
have you seen the Tizzards? Have you seen the Tizzards strike rate at Aintree at this festival?
Yeah, but have you seen the Tizzards strike rate this season? So... Listen, I would take that with a broader picture and say, Eldorado Allen, if you backed him at Cheltenham, you owe Harry Cobden a drink. It was a masterful ride to nick second on the line.
Oh, yeah, it owes me a drink because I backed Captain Guinness each way.
Nothing could lay up, obviously,
in an each way double with put the kettle on.
I think
I'm not bitter.
Mark, there's another important point to be made here. If you like Eldorado Allen, you surely, therefore, also respect the chance of the horses who finished ahead of him in the Henry VIII, for example. So I think when you look at All Mankind winning that race at Sandown earlier in the season, Hitman was second in that race. He was only fourth. So
before we do selections,
Tom, on that piece of form,
let's deal with the big quandary we have every year. So these horses, bar the Nichols ones, are aimed at Cheltenham, and then it is decided whether to go to Aintree or not. Some, I mean, I think Mr. Fisher's an interesting one later on. Pulled up, look absolutely knackered or whatever, you know, he's running today. Some bounce back at Aintree, some don't.
The point you're
that is the huge question, isn't it, going into Aintree after Cheltenham?
Well, it's a very intelligent question because the reason being...
First time ever, thanks.
If you flick over the page, even a stop clock, how many times a day? Twice. The 250, look at those horses, the likes of ASO, Mr. Fisher, Native River, Tiger Roll. How's Cheltenham going to impact on them? Same question applies to this.
What has Cheltenham taken out of them? So, like the Shunter, for example, I mean, we see that, he's putting up the hill, huge performance in the plate.
Staggering.
How has the Shunter come out of that?
Well, the very fact that Emmett Mullins sees fit to travel him when he could have waited for Fairyhouse, I beg your pardon, for Punchestown in a couple of weeks' time, probably tells its own story, because when you look at Emmett Mullins, and this is something really important that I want to emphasise here.
So are we taking it on trust that the trainer basically is rocking up, so he must be all right at home, must have come out of Cheltenham all right, or do you not know until you get to the track how that horse has come out of Cheltenham?
Here's the truth. If the horse is showing the right signs, if they look to have put the weight back on, if they're eating properly and if they're good in their work, you'd be tempted to take your chance. But until they get there and push comes to shove, there is no way of proving or disproving how they're going to be able to take that on. Remember,
because the huge difference this year as well is that they're not running for the day out you know, I know there's going to be some owners at the track, but they're not they're not booking a box at Aintree and having a great day with all their friends, unfortunately, are they?
Remember the incredible time back in 2012 when Sprinter Sacre did all three: Cheltenham, Aintree, Punchestown. He got away with it, but actually he didn't get away with it long term. There were problems after that in his career, health-wise. It's a huge ask. Only 3 weeks the gap. The Shunter, I didn't think he was going to back up at Cheltenham, and he won like a fresh horse from Kelso. This is another question again, stepping up into Grade 1 company from a handicap. Fusel Raffles, the same comment applies. Cheltenham.
Yep.
Eldorado Allen, the same comment applies. So we've got
but
a
it
plate
doesn't
winner.
apply to Paul Nichols, who was deliberately... I think that's why a lot of his horses are getting backed.
Here's the truth. We've got a plate winner in the Shunter. We've got a Marsh second in Fusel. We've got Eldorado second in the Arkle. And then we've got the fresher horses. I will touch on Umbrigado. And I'll tell you why.
Touch on it quick. We need to move on.
Well, he's won his last three, but 2 runs ago he beat a horse of my sister's, Destined to Shine, who's not a star. That form's not good enough. Last time he was left in front. I don't think that's good enough form to be stepping up into a Grade 1. The Shunter... respect. Fusel the same, Eldorado the same, but I love this free-flowing Hitman, the exuberant way he tanks through his races, the gap between races. I think this is for him, Hitman, to win the opener for me.
I think the Skeltons have got a real good chance. I think he's had a wind-up after that flop at Kelso, but look, I'm going to go for the Shunter. Matt, what are you going to go for, and then tell us what Ryan Manya's going for?
Well, I was with Tom. I'm with the Hitman as well. But yeah, we'll hear from Ryan Manya, because you mentioned Protectorat in that mark. I was disappointed at Kelso. The man who won that race was Ryan Manya, and Empire Steel, who's going to get the leg over tomorrow at Aintree. Let's hear then Ryan Manya's thoughts on the first of 21 races at Aintree this weekend.
Just to touch on the whole card on Thursday, I mean, it's a great card. It really is. You know, I've heard people say it's as good as Cheltenham. You know, it really is a real championship day. Hitman goes in; he's favourite now, probably deservedly so. And yeah, you touched on Protectorat, which I beat last day. Probably completely underperformed that day. He's dropped back and tripped to run Aintree. So hopefully that brings out sort of improvement. But he's a real bold front-running type. But if we're going to pick one, I really thought that Eldorado Allen ran really well at Cheltenham last time. Stayed on. Potentially there could be an argument that he wants further. So it was only over 2 miles at Cheltenham. 2.5 still sharp enough at Aintree, but I think he's in with a great shout.
Eldorado Allen for Ryan Mann. You'll hear from Ryan Mann throughout the week. We're also going to hear from Jamie Codd, who's got one in the Fox Hunters today as well. Right, tonight I'll be watching the Masters. Really looking forward to it. We are 8 places each way on the Masters as well. We've got a very special show on our Facebook page at the moment. It's with Simon Dyson, who played the course in 2010 and 2012. So let's get Simon's thoughts on this year's Masters Golf.
Welcome to Mottram Hall, home of 6-time European Tour winner Simon Dyson. And with the Masters just around the corner, we caught up with him on the links to get his memories of Augusta.
I mean, it's every boy's dream growing up playing golf. I won the Dunhill in October, so that got me in the top 50 in the world, so I knew I was going to play it. But actually, until you get the invite through the post, it's still a bit surreal, but amazing to get that through the post, it was.
And then, of course, you got that iconic moment of driving down Magnolia Lane for the first time.
Yeah, I played a practice round a week before when the course was really quiet, so we got to drive down Magnolia, and it's just a beautiful drive. And then we obviously did it on the Monday of the tournament, and it had a very different feel to it. There was the buzz about the place, knowing it was Masters Week. There was crowds there. I think there was about 20,000 people there on the Monday. So it had a really different feel about it, and yeah, very excited to do that.
And I imagine even though you hadn't played the course before, you'd grown up watching it on TV, you knew every hole. Just how different was it in person? I
mean, everybody knows every single hole, don't they? But it's so very different when you get there. You can't believe how undulating it is. So like, I got on the first tee and you look down towards the 7th green, 8th tee, and you can't believe how far down they are. Just certain shots, 10, you don't realise how much the hole goes down as well. But yeah, very, very different to what you see on TV.
Now, you played it a couple of times, 2010, 2012. Is there a certain shot, certain memory that stands out?
Yeah, probably the 2010, the second day. I'd had an all right day the first day, and I knew I needed a good start, and I think I doubled the first, but then birdied the second, birdied 4, 5 and 6, so I got on a really good run there. 'Cause, 5, I think I was hitting 5 wood in. 5's obviously a really tough hole, and then 6, I think I hit the best shot I hit all week. I hit a 6 iron to about 3 feet, so they really stand out for me.
Okay, well, this isn't quite Augusta, but we're in good position. Let's see if we can try and replicate that.
In good position. Let's see if we can knock it close.
Okay.
And our full programme is on our Facebook page. So the Masters, 8 places each way. To what? Is it 1 o'clock or 8 places each way to Matt?
Until that first tee ball is struck. Yes, it's a 2 ball actually that gets us underway with the odd number of players. But yeah, 8 places on this at 1 o'clock, say until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And then obviously say at 12 o'clock will also be 8 places on the Grand National as well. Dustin Johnson, the reigning champion, very different though to how he played in November. He's supposed to be firm and fast. Lee Westwood played there a couple of weeks ago with his son. He says it's the fastest he's ever seen it, and he's been a very regular visitor down Magnolia Lane in recent years. But Dustin Johnson 9-1, Justin Thomas been tipped up everywhere, the Players Champion 10-1, Bryson DeChambeau, the Bomber, is at 11-1, same price as Jordan Spieth, back to form Jordan Spieth. Great to see him back in the big time as well. He got such a good Augusta record as well. John Rahm, would it be the nappy factor? He was a father at the weekend, became a father for the first time at the weekend. He's at 12-1, just like Danny Willett did the week that he won it. Rory McIlroy, 18-1, Mark. 18-1 for Rory McIlroy to complete a career Grand Slam this weekend. And you're quite sweet in his chances, aren't you?
Look, I've backed him each way, basically, Matt. I think 8 places each way. I think Rory McIlroy's an each way bet at 18-1. I wish I'd backed Jordan Spieth before that win last week. So, yeah, 8 places each way on the Masters until it tees off at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Really looking forward to the next 4 days of golf, and really looking forward to 5:15 on Saturday evening.
Our shop shutters may be down, but our spirits will be raised.
There's a furlong now between Redrum and his third Grand National triumph.
A race that belongs to the city.
His hats off and a tremendous reception. You've never heard one like it at Liverpool.
A race that belongs to the nation.
And party politics is going to win the Grand National.
A race that belongs to the people.
Tiger Roll is remarkable. He comes up towards the winning line under Davy Russell.
Over 30 fences and 4 1/4 miles.
Boynelver going well clear to a fantastic Grand National triumph.
The ultimate test of horse and jockey.
And they are applauding a very brave horse. Red Marauder comes out alone.
History beckons for the brave.
And the line, Aldermeeting wins the National.
Join us Saturday at 9:30 a.m. for all the build-up, plus Fred's pushes. Yeah, Fred's here at 9:30 on Saturday. He's also here at midday today as well. So he'll be sat where Tom is sat at midday today, doing some pushes on today's racing, because we have got 7 races today. And let's have a look at another of the grade 1s on the card. It's for 220. It's for Doombar Anniversary Juvenile Hurdle. And we've got obviously a warm Irish order in this race. No, we haven't, of course. It's Monmorale's another Paul Nicholls one. But we've got Adagio, which was second in the Triumph.
Exactly, second to Quilixios, and actually Adagio came there at the second last, travelling very powerfully. No match for the winner ultimately, but it was still an excellent run. What I will say, this Adagio, he's a Grade 1 winner in his own right, Mark. He won the Chepstow Grade 1 in January, and when you read into the broader picture of his form, it's very, very strong and solid, because he's essentially been either winning races or finishing second to the likes of Quilixios. That gives him a huge chance here. I will question, A, the gap between races. We're touching on this Cheltenham into Aintree theme again. And also, what about the suitability of the track? Because suddenly you're asking him to deliver on different ground on a frying pan flat speed track, as opposed to the likes of Chepstow, the likes of Cheltenham, real tough, gruelling, undulating tracks. It's a new question for a young and inexperienced horse, albeit one who's had quite a tough season already. Let's see how he adapts today.
Matt, the money is coming for Adagio. It was 5-2 when I looked last night.
Certainly was, yeah. I mean, when I was writing about this yesterday, it was around about 5-2 as well. Plenty of money for him last night. It's continued as well this morning, 11-8, which means Monmorale's drifted out to 11-10. The delta about Monmorale, look, he's very talented. He's the ground. All his wins have come on soft or heavy ground, and just worried about the quicker ground this afternoon. But Paul Nicholls had 12 winners of his last 33 runners. Adagio, such a hardy type. Chepstow, Grade 1 winner, second the Triumph, as you mentioned. He's at 11-8. But what about this lady here? 5-20. Donna Mccain, Target Aintree, a name synonymous with Aintree, of course. She's in there at 11-1. She gets a little allowance as well of £7. Now, there's a horse called Historic Heart, who Adagio beat by 4 3/4 lengths, and 5-20 beat her at Musselburgh. I know it's all the way around, but a similar track to Aintree by 4 lengths. So on that, taking that horse as a literal line of form, has just 3/4 of a length to find. 11-1 against 11-8. That's my theory. Probably be rubbished at about 2:23.
Well, we'll see that race at Musselburgh at a moment, but let's see Monmorale winning at Haydock. Unbeaten over hurdles, Monmorale, and trained by Paul Nicholls, another one that's been especially saved for the Cheltenham Festival. What I would say about the ground, I mean, I know they're saying it's a good to soft, but look, I think there'll have been plenty of water in as well at Aintree over the last few days, Tom.
Yes, indeed.
Just to be on the safe side.
And if you look at the broader picture of this horse's season, he's won at Exeter, he's won at Doncaster, he's won at Haydock. On every occasion, you have to say he's been hugely impressive. He has got around action. We will see how he adapts. But Nicholls, again, he's got a 147 rated horse, unbeaten, improving, nice gap between races. Whereas Adagio comes off the back of a tough scrap with Quilixios.
Well, let's see. This is the Triumph Hurdle.
Yes, indeed. So the gap between races, as we've been at pains to point out, only 20 days, whereas the clip we've just seen was 47 days ago. The horse in front in the red colours is the eventual winner, but keeping him true all the way to the line is this Adagio, who came there travelling very, very nicely indeed. Ultimately couldn't quite reel in this highly impressive Quilixios at a time of absolute Irish domination, but beats everything else, and it's another excellent run. And don't forget, on the mantelpiece already, irrespective of what happens today, this horse is and always will be a Grade 1 winner, having won the finale at Chepstow.
This is the Musselburgh race that Matt was talking about. Matt, what do you like about this race then?
Just the way she goes about it, uncomplicated. She flicks through that one, but uncomplicated from the front. Not sure there's much pace in this race either, so she's an angle that's going to go out in front. She gets £7 and she just wins really comfortably. Look, she's basically won this ease down by 4 lengths. She's valued for much more, and she gets £7 on a line of the weight.
Matt, she's going to need to be, let's be honest, the top horse, Montmoral, 147. She's 132. 132 plus 7 is 139. She's still a long way short. She's going to need those £7 and more, surely.
But she has not had the chance to prove that rating yet. She's not had a chance to run to a high rating because she's been running around.
Well, that's not really true. She's run 3 times at Musselburgh. Her form is her form. The handicap has given her a mark based upon what he's seen. She's not been standing in a box. She's run 3 times.
Yes, what I'm saying is Adagio's been running in Grade 1s. Montmoral's been running against Grade 1 horses like Nasalem, who was second in a Grade 1.
If she was that good, why wouldn't Donald have taken her and run her in a Grade 1 with the allowance against the boys already?
All been about this. You know the names, Mccain, synonymous with Aintree. He even said after a second Musselburgh run, Aintree is the target. She won a listed race. Look, on a strict line of form, Tom, they've both beaten Historic Art by 4 lengths. One's 11-8, one's 11-1. I know where I'd rather.
It's a game of opinions, fellas, isn't it? It's a game of opinions.
I'm kind of playing. He's right about the value. He's absolutely abundantly correct about that.
Let's hear from someone who's seen it and done it, and not just 2 armchair jockeys like you two. Let's hear from Ryan Manya and get his thoughts on the 220.
You can't help but be so impressed with the way she won at Musselburgh. What I will say is Musselburgh is very different from anywhere. Obviously, they've set their sights on Aintree rather than Cheltenham, because Aintree is more similar to Musselburgh than Cheltenham is. So the flat track, flat sharp track should suit her, and yeah, she has to have a huge shout. And Brian Hughes will be hoping to get another winner and try and keep ahead of Harry Scotland if he can. For me, Montmoral, they've missed Cheltenham. It's only a plus, a real plus, especially for young horses. It's a real ask for them to go to Cheltenham and exert themselves and then go to Aintree. So that's a huge plus that he's going straight to Aintree, a fresh horse.
That's Ryan Mainey's selection. I'm going for Adagio. Tom?
Unquestionably, I think Nichols is going to win the first 2 races. Hitman followed by Montmoral.
Well, there's going to be a few Nichols lucky 15s today, isn't there, because of saving his horses for Aintree. Matt?
Purely on value grounds, it's got to be 5 and 20. I know she's 11-1, but I just think it's a too big a price. It looks a match on paper, but don't discount her.
And then we have another Grade 1. This is a cracker. The Betway Bowl here at 250. This is a very, very good race. Been won by some good horses in the past as well. Matt, how do we bet for the big one?
Yeah, Clanders Oboe then didn't get that third King George, but he's 3-1 for his first win of the season, and I think he's got a huge chance this afternoon. Waiting patiently is at 7-2. Ruth Jefferson not had a winner for 6 months, would you believe? Native River, will the ground be too quick for him? He's at 5-1. Best of the British in the Gold Cup. You've still beaten 30 lengths. So the gamble of the race, Clondor Castle. Perfect conditions, decent ground, won impressively at Kempton, a handicap graduate. Mr. Fisher, you mentioned before, mark at 6-1, and I might have egg on my face a little later. I cannot have Tiger Roll this afternoon. He's on the drift slightly, 13-2. His last time he run over normal fences, November 2017. Can't have him today at all.
We'll talk about Tiger Roll in a moment as well. Tom's smiling because I think Tom suggested he should have been retired before Cheltenham, didn't you?
Just imagine,
cross country.
Just imagine having the neck on you to sit in this studio or stand in this studio and say Tiger Roll's got no chance. I mean, who would do such a stupid thing?
About 3 weeks ago. Clanders Oboe, this is Newbury, of course, won the King George in 2018 and 2019. This is the Denman Chase, finishing second in the King George this year. So, all right, not won, but has been placed on all 3 runs this season.
The cheek pieces go on today, Mark. He was beaten this day by his stablemate Secret Investor, who was my horse to follow for the season. Still an excellent run. Is he quite the force of old? I wonder.
So
because...
if the cheek pieces are going on, are we suggesting that maybe Clandizobo's not quite so up for the game?
Honestly, no. I don't think that's a fair thing to level against him. I just think that he's an older horse, he's a wiser horse, and maybe he just needs every little bit of encouragement just to eke out that high level of performance at the level that saw him win 2 King Georges.
This is Native River winning at Aintree back in December. Of course,
listen, we can deal with that
really good
quickly.
4th in the Gold Cup this year.
Age, ground, big black mark, Native River, surprise if it wins.
What about waiting patiently? And you've had to wait patiently for a win, haven't you? Because the last win was 2018 in the Ascot Chase.
Grade 1 winner when I was in short trousers at Ascot in 2018. I love this horse. Smooth travelling. He's got the right man on board. I like everything about him, but his strike rate's woeful. He rarely runs. He's clearly very, very hard to train, and the stable are out of form. I'd adore it if Waiting Patiently could win this race. I think he'll come up short yet again.
Right then, let's talk it then. Tiger Roll, 2 Grand Nationals, 5 festival wins, not running a chase since November 2017, like Matt said. Not won a Grade 1 for 6 years.
Well, £1.4 million winnings in prize money tell their own story about the Tiger. What a remarkable horse. A Triumph Hurdle winner, a National Hunt Chase winner, 3 times a cross-country winner, 2 Grand Nationals, and yet his owner comes out yesterday and says, quote, he has no chance whatsoever. It's brinksmanship. Don't ever write this horse off, as I learned to my extreme cost at the Cheltenham Festival. But back over to conventional fences at the age of 11 against these good horses, still it's a surprise. Surely he'll come up short, and yet defy him at your peril. But I don't think it's his day, Mark.
Shall we get another conversation out of the way? Why are they not going for the big one on Saturday?
I think it's a mistake. They're complaining.
Could have made history.
They're complaining about his mark of 166. He was removed from the race. And yet, based upon what he achieved at Cheltenham, how wrong were we to write him off? Was it premature they took him out the race? Was it a fit of peak? Was it correct? Who knows? He could yet, don't forget.
Don't you think in a few years' time, the O'Learys might just wake up and think, I wish we'd gone for that hat-trick.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And yet, who's to say that in 12 months' time he won't come as a 12-year-old and win the Grand National with a lower rating when he's bombed out in races like this? It's not impossible. He is a remarkable horse. I reckon with Tiger Roll, if you broke him in half like a stick of rock, you'd find that instead of flesh and blood, it was granite. He's a remarkable animal.
Clearly tough.
And yet, yes, I think it's a missed opportunity. I think he's in the wrong race. I think win or lose, he should be taking his chance in the Grand National. He's not. Forget that. He's running in this race. Would I back him today? No.
Well, let's hear from a man who knows all about the Gigginstown horses and hear from Jamie Codd.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. Connections are taking a punt. They obviously took him out of the National and they're taking a punt on going for this. But look, I don't know. You take out Clandizobo and it looks very, very winnable. The way Tiger won at Cheltenham, I certainly wasn't expecting it, but I was delighted to see it, him coming back to such form. But I don't think you can rule out this horse at all. We'll see how it goes. Look, at Clandizobo is, for me, he's probably the best horse in the race, but he has been quite disappointing in his last couple of runs. The Newbury run in the Denman Chase behind Secret Investor, just getting touched off. Is that good enough? But he's been freshened up, missed Cheltenham, and I'm expecting a big, big run here from him. Look at down the bottom, you have Waiting Patiently. He should run well on the track. Brian Hughes gets on well with him. Also, he's missed Cheltenham. So, there's no real excuses for these horses coming in. They should be fresh and well. And obviously the Old Boy Native River, you'd imagine with the ground drying out that, he might not get to set enough of a gallop for himself to make it enough of a stamina test. But look, you can never dismiss the Old Boy. He was still fourth in the Gold Cup, albeit beaten 30 lengths. But I don't know, is there anything there to kind of drag him along to help force the pace with him? So look, for me, it's Clanda's Oboe, and I think I'd love to see Tiger Roll run into a place.
Tiger Roll into a place, and Jamie knows all about the Gigginstown horses. Right, selection time. I'm going to go for Clondalk Castle, won the whatever it is. I don't even know what the race is called now, but that Racing Post Chase thing at Kempton.
That thing, yeah, that's
I don't
the
know
one.
what it's called now.
It's great to have a craftsman who knows the terminology alongside you in the studio.
The Racing Post Chase.
Listen, Mark, the really noticeable thing about this...
That good chase at Kempton it won.
Take Mr Fisher out, who pulled up at Cheltenham, and look at the rest of them. They're all 10, 11. They're old men. You're looking for the improver with conditions to suit, who's got something to surprise you with at a nice price. Inadvertently, the one who won that Racing Post thing at Kempton that you mentioned, with the nice gap between races for the informed stable, is number 3, Clondalk Castle, who's got loads of improvement to come at a trip. He's only had one go, and that was an emphatic win. I think against all these old boys who've got various aches and pains and reasons not to back them, Clondalk Castle might be the bet of the day, not just the bowl.
Big man.
Hang on, you just moaned about me saying about marks and handicap marks and stuff, and yet Clondalk Castle's got £9 to find on Clanda's Oboe. Oh my God. Anyway, no, I do hear you. Clondalk Castle is a big improver. He is coming up through the ranks, but I'm going to side with Clanda's Oboe. He is the class horse in the race. And like Jamie said, if you take that one out, it looks a winnable contest. Clanda's Oboe for me. Could be a good day for Paul Nicholls.
Let's move on to the 325. Another Grade 1. This is the Aintree Hurdle, and this is a very, very good race. And we've got some Irish form lines to discuss in this one as well.
Have we ever? Yes, indeed. We've got a certain Abracadabra as the winner of the Morgiana Hurdle, beating Jason the Militant.
And second to Honeysuckle in the Irish Champion Hurdle, but unfortunately fell in the Cheltenham Champion Hurdle.
Fell early in the Cheltenham Champion Hurdle, which actually might be well, no fall's ever a blessing, but at least it was an early fall and he didn't have a bruising hard race and fall at the last. So
but the one I want to hear about, I've heard everyone talk about this, Jason the Militant. Trained by Harry de Bromhead, who obviously had an outstanding Cheltenham, and the lady of the moment, Rachel Blackmore, on board. Tell me about this Jason the Militant then. Why is Jason Militant clear favourite now, Tom?
I would argue that some of this is factored into the trainer and jockey combination because, of course, Rachel Blackmore was the name of Cheltenham in terms of a human contribution. Henry de Bromhead not far behind her with his 1-2 in the Gold Cup. Jason the Militant, for his part, well, that third in the Morgiana was promising. His win at Fairyhouse was even better the last day. Could be potential improvement to come, stepping up in trip to 2.5 miles on a track that should suit this afternoon, albeit different ground factored in. Maybe that will bring improvement also. Form, as we've mentioned, ties in very strongly with another of the Irish contenders, Abracadabras, who was the Morgiana winner.
Yep. Let's see Abracadabras finishing second to Honeysuckle. So this is the Irish Champion Hurdle.
Yes, indeed. This is the Dublin Festival.
Now she'd gone.
This is the Dublin Festival of Racing.
Gone here.
Yes, indeed. And yet these are good horses in behind. Honeysuckle pulled away for an easy 10-length win, but doing best of the rest, and maybe best of the rest.
When you watch this, you think, why didn't we back her for the Champion Hurdle?
Maybe best of the classic after timing yet again. Maybe best of the rest is good enough in today's context because Jason the Militant has to improve against these horses, and Abracadabras, well, he's been there and done it against the very best, and with her not striding out this afternoon, staying in her box, waiting for Punchestown.
I can't fathom McFabulous.
I'm not sure I can either, I'll be honest with you. He's tricky to weigh up, he's tricky to assess. The story of this season has been 2 placed efforts and 2 victories.
Again, is he 11-2 because people are thinking Nicholls has saved it?
Well, if you look back to how he won at Kempton, this is the 9th of January, beating on the blind side, you think to yourself, this is a progressive horse, he's still only 7 years of age.
Second at Fontwell in the Game Spirit.
Well, again, that's another one of these that we see here. That's not that clip. Which clip is that now?
No, this is Jason the Militant.
This is Fairyhouse, the last day for Jason the Militant. So the gap between races, 40 days, hasn't been to Cheltenham. Potential improvement stepping up in trip, potential improvement on better ground. Morgiana form, as we've mentioned, ties in with Abracadabras, and you possibly have weighted into the price the de Bromhead Rachel Blackmore factor. Does this very nicely, albeit He's beating an old man who's danced every dance in Petit Mouchoir, has to find even more today.
Petit Mouchoir wasn't bad at the Cheltenham Festival, though.
That is the truth, but he's not the force of old. It is also the truth.
Right, I'm going to go for a dual champion hurdle winner. Also won this race in 2017. Beauvoir Dare each way for me. Tom?
I'm beginning to think that somebody may have had the whiskey flask out. If Beauvoir Dare roars back to win this, then there won't be a dry eye in the house.
And what will you do?
But I'll be astonished is what I will do. I'll get a haircut is what I will do.
You can't till Monday anyway. Otherwise, I'd have had my haircut.
It's coming. We're underway. Nearly there. Keep pushing. We've just seen a clip of a horse called McFabulous. He was beaten in the National Spirit of Fontwell.
By Brewing Up a Storm.
By Brewing Up a Storm, who actually, the story of his season wasn't quite happening for him over fences.
So why is McFabulous 11-2 and Brewing Up a Storm 17-2?
I think the prices are wrong, that's why. Brewing Up a Storm, since he's gone back over hurdles, he won very nicely at Taunton, then he won at Fontwell. This is another question entirely, but Ollie Murphy's been among the winners. And I just think that actually when you weigh in the ifs and buts and maybes about a variety of these, whether it's ground, gap between races, the inconsistency of McFabulous and anyway held on that form that we've just seen, therefore Brewing Up a Storm is a definite value play and a really nice each way bet, 17-2.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to put the anorak on for 2 seconds and just have a look at this.
Please don't.
These numbers, 158, 158, 158, 158, 158, 158.
Silver Street, 163, you're going to say.
I know, but I don't think he'll stay. What I'm saying is, this is the man who decides how good these horses are. This is how tough a race to predict this is, because effectively, these should all finish in a line, those 6. All finish in a line. That is how tough this race is. I can't have Jason Militant at 3-1 on the ground. I'm with Tom, Brewing Up a Storm. Didn't work for him chasing. Good win of a handicap at Taunton, beat McFabulous 6 lengths in the National Spirit, and I think he'll handle track and ground. He was second there to Santini in a Grade 1 as well, so 17-2 Brewing Up a Storm looks big to me.
Well, let's hear from Ryan Mania and Rupert on the entry hurdle.
Absolutely could. I mean, there's a rake of these horses going into it with in good form. I mean, Beauvoir Dare looks about 11-1. How the hell, he's a champion hurdle horse. How is he 11-1? It just shows you how competitive it is. Silver Streak for me he's not. I don't think he's at that level. I think he's a great horse. He's a real fun horse to have, but I don't think he's good enough to win something like that. Brewing Up a Storm is great to see him back to some sort of form. And I was looking yesterday. McFabulous was favourite yesterday, and I see he's drifted out now. With if like Abadacadabra, however you say that, he looks like he's going to be going off favourite, and he was unfortunate to fall early last time. So we don't, you don't know how well he's going to come and run. So long as he's taking no ill effects from falling. I did fancy McFabulous. He was impressive early on in the season. Got beat last time, but as you say, there's a rake of horses in there. It'd be a real interesting competitive race. But I feel like I want to stick with Beauvoir Dare. Just simply because if he got back to some sort of form that he used to be at, then these horses wouldn't be in the same league as him. I know they might be slightly disappointed with his first run of the season, but he's going to come on a lot for that, and hopefully he can be seen to good effect at Aintree tomorrow.
Well, the entry hurdle, what a race that is in prospect with McFabulous, Abacadabras. They've all got huge chances in this race, running around this very compact course. It's very different, of course, than Cheltenham. Sometimes I think you have to basically ignore Cheltenham form, because these two courses are polar opposites to each other. Flat as a pancake in places, the Mildmay course here at Aintree. And that's why I give a huge chance for Brewing Up a Storm. Come back to form, revitalise being back over hurdles, and Ollie Murphy basically was saying, I'm going to bring my best horses for Aintree, and I think Bringing Up a Storm looks a really good price in this race. I respect many of the other horses in it. Of course, Denise Foster's Abracadabras is a worthy favourite, but for me, I think the value bet is Brewing Up a Storm.
Yeah, Brewing Up a Storm, popular in the studio as well. Right, we're running out of time. I hate doing this. We're having to go through the last 3 races really quickly. But the 405 is the Rose Patterson Randox Fox Hunters Open Hunters Chase. So the Fox Hunters, we have 5 places each way on this race as well. 4 favourites in the last 10 years. We heard from Jamie Codd throughout the morning. It's his only ride of the day in the Fox Hunters. Let's hear from Jamie Codd on a mighty stowaway.
Yeah, he ran well in Cheltenham. Made a mistake, I think maybe the last fence up the back when he seemed to be sneaking into contention, and it kind of just put a halt to that challenge. And look, he plugged on. He's well beaten, but you know, it was encouraging. Schooled him the other day. Seemed to take the defence really, really well at home. And I look, I'm expecting a good spin around. I hope he jumps well. And you know, I think if we can be in the prize money there in the first 4 or 5, it'll be a fantastic run. Bill Away is there. You know, he ran fantastically well in Cheltenham and was up there all the way, and just to be touched off in the end. But I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see. He can be prone to a couple of little jumping mistakes, and I suppose Aintree is unforgiving in the jumping department. So, you know, if that horse, if he does make a mistake, and it'll be interesting to see how he copes with that. So I'm actually going to take him on with a horse called Some Man of David Christie's. And Barry O'Neill, our champion point-to-point rider, is riding him. He's loads of experience in point-to-points. He's got plenty of hunter chase experience. He won a hunter chase in Down Royal the last day over 2 Mile 3. And I think this flat track 2-5 jumps well. I think this track is made for him, and I'm expecting a really, really big run out of him.
Well, I'm listening to the Codfather. Some Man is my selection, Tom.
Ambition and improvement trumps past achievement. Therefore, number 4, Cat Tiger.
Big man.
Somatical beat the Fox Hunter Cheltenham Fox winner Paul Otbay at Wincanton. Is that name again? Paul Nichols. He'll do for me.
But we're ignoring a Mullins horse, and he's not bringing many this week.
No, like James said, I'm worried about his jumping. He does have the odd, he does hit the odd one, and he might not get away with that over these bigger fences.
Right, let's move to the 440, which is a Close Brothers Red Run Handicap Chase. We're also 5 places on this, and I really, really like the look of the Skelton's horse, but not a 5-1, Matt.
No, well, he's been backed, hasn't he? He's caught many of people's eye as well. He's so well handicapped, of course. Third here in a Grade 1 a couple of years ago. 5-1 to win the Red Rum. Ferro Bamboo, also been hammered by the hand. Well, this one has been hammered by the handicapper for winning at Sandown. He's at 8-1 for Venetia Williams. Grey Diamond, well supported Sam Thomas in great form at 8-1. I'm really sweet on Zanza once again. No run at Cheltenham pulled up, but he's so well handicapped to win. Don't forget Moon over Germany here, 9-1. He won the race 2 years ago as well.
And Ryan Manier's on a horse named after you at a wedding.
Yes, he is. He's on Joke Dancer all the way down here. Where is he? There
he had a big price winner for Sue Smith at Cheltenham,
33-1, but we are 5 places.
Yep, Joke Dancer 33-1. So that is the Red Rum Handicap Chase, where we're 5 places. And we finish with the Mayor's Bumper, and probably the shortest price horse of the whole week we've got here. She's a flatbred filly.
Yeah, and
quickly tell us about her and tell us your selection.
I've got a comment from Peter Fenny who says, "Come on, Fred, Eileen Dover, Montmorel double. Join us at 12 and find out about that." This is the one I'm waiting for the most today. Horses don't win bumpers by 29 lengths. She does, and she cantered all over the Champion Bumper 6 at Market Range. She's 5-6, but she's very special. She's a freak. She's bred to be a mile. She's
so your selection?
She's odds on, but it's got to be Eileen Dover.
Milan's Edge each way, the Weatherby winner for Brian Hughes.
Me Too Please each way as well. I thought that won a decent bumper. And look, the Irish are more bothered about bumpers as well, aren't they? That won a decent bumper a few days out. So Me Too Please each way. Right, the Grand National is just full of history, full of an amazing stories. And it was won 40 years ago. Bob Champion beat cancer and won the Grand National on Alden Eating. Incredibly, it was 40 years ago. Let's hear from Bob Champion.
I had 2 different types of cancer, teratoma and seminoma. There was 5 stages, and I was at stage 4. So if I hadn't had the treatment, I wouldn't have been here.
And while all this was happening, Alden Eating, a horse you'd ridden, was not very well either.
Well, I was about 3/4 away for the treatment. He came back for a run at Sandown. I was there that day, and he broke down so bad. And, the vets wanted to put him down. It broke my heart because he was my main aim. I always wanted to ride him in a Grand National.
So you arrived at Aintree, you got on the horse, the world was watching, Did that put pressure on you?
Oh, good God, yeah, a lot of
Really?
pressure. Nobody realises the pressure I was under. You know, I'd been to the track in the morning and sat on the old horse, and you know, he felt $1 million. He was so relaxed. He'd never been relaxed in his life before. So he must have realised it was a big occasion as well. His legs were our worry. And so we jumped off down the outer. I followed Bill Smith on something and John Thorne on Spartan Missile. Going to the first, he stood off far too far, came down too steep, nearly curtains. He realised this is serious business, the old horse did. It hurts hitting a fence. Went to the first ditch, was a big ditch those days.
It was, number 3.
And the old horse had a brain, put a short stride in. From that moment, he was a joy to ride. Got to the elbow, and I felt this horse come to my quarters. I didn't look, you know, you don't look. And felt this horse there for a few strides. The old horse kept galloping. He didn't quicken, he kept galloping. And I beat the second 2 or 3 lengths. But if it was another 100 yards, I'd have beaten him 10 lengths.
It's great to come and talk to you here. You're not riding anymore, but if you were, who would you like to be riding in the 2021 Grand National?
Well, most likely one of the Irish, because they're going to have more than half the field. But cloth cap for me. I loved everything he's done this season. Jumps for fun, ridden by Tom Skew. And wouldn't that be history? Yes. Grandfather won the National. Father was involved with the National winner with his partner. And be 3 generations if Tom won it. And there's always a story. But, you know, he has been impressive all his races this time. Trained for the day. John Joe's horse is in great form. Has trained a National winner before. So he knows what's needed.
The Grand National is just full of stories, and 1981, that was an amazing story, made into a film as well. Right, what will the amazing story be today, Tom? What is your best bet?
I think you get a lot for your money at 5.5 to 1 right now with Betfred if you back number 3, Clondell Castle, in the 250, the bowl.
I agree with you. I think Clondell Castle's got a great chance. Matt?
Brewing up a storm.
Right.
Hurdle. Cheers. That'll do for me.
There we are, brewing up a storm in the Aintree Hurdle. Right, whatever you bet, please keep it fun and gamble responsibly. And just a reminder, once we get to midday today on Thursday, we're 8 places each way in the Grand National for the rest of Thursday and Friday. So get your bets on early. And you're going to draw to win a very special car as well. I'm back at midday with Fred. And Fred will have some very, very special pushes up his sleeve. See you then.